Welcome to Rising Woman Leaders. I'm your host, Meredith Ram, and I believe the time has come for women to share their gifts, their voice, and their stories. I love seeing women spiritually and financially empowered, thriving in their life's work, and doing what they love every day. I've gathered a community of women living their dreams to tell us their stories and inspire us to step into more courage, self-love, and feminine leadership. If you like this podcast, use the hashtag Rising Woman Leaders, follow me on Instagram at Meredith Ram, and sign up for email updates at risingwomanleaders.com to get all the new and inspiring content. Now get cozy with a journal and a cup of tea. I hope you enjoy today's show. I'm here today with Marin Bach-Antonson, who is a woman's spiritual coach, a soul catalyst, and creator of the Priestess Initiation Program, a leadership program for women ready to embody their radiance, lead from the heart, and claim their role on the forefront of the feminine awakening movement. She has over 20 years' experience crafting ritual, leading red tents, and bringing women together in sister circles, which she believes is part of the new paradigm in how we Western women are meant to change the world. Thank you for being here, Marin. So Marin has been a guide and a teacher on my path, and I'm so honored to just have her here and have her wisdom be shared with everyone listening today. I would love to just dive in and hear a little about the beginning of your path and what was your relationship to the feminine growing up. I imagine pretty different. If there was a moment of shift for you at any point, and how you came into this role that you are now in this role of the priestess.
Thank you. Heard this story so many times. I will share it again. There was a very, very clear moment that my life changed. And it was on an evening in New York City that was right around the time of the fall equinox. And at the time, I had been volunteering at the New York Open Center. My brother had just passed away tragically. And I was cracked open in my life. I was just seeking something, some sort of meaning, some sort of sense of what had just happened. I was 24, my brother was only 21 years old. And so that led me to the New York Open Center. And part of our package there in volunteering is that we got free events. And I can so remember this so clearly. I was at a choice point where I was either going to go to the Feng Shui event or I was going to go to this autumn equinox thing. And Feng Shui was really calling me, but I love fall in New York City. I'm going to go to this autumn equinox thing. I have no idea even what it is, but it was pumpkins and, fall stuff on the flyer. I'm going to go to that. My subway was late. And by the time that I had arrived, the women's circle, which is what ultimately it was an autumn equinox gathering, was already underway. I opened up the doors, and what I saw in that room, I'm even getting chills again as I speak about it because it is such a holy moment of my life. What I saw in that room was a group of women, all different ages, all dressed in these beautiful goddess adornment clothes. They were sitting around in a circle. The lights were low. The candles were lit. The main facilitator was keeping a drumbeat. And my body and my cellular being remembered something in that moment. And I knew with all of my faculties in that moment that this was something that I was meant to know, that I was meant to do, that I was meant to have in my life. And I was 24 years old at the time. I walked right up to the facilitator at the end of it, being sort of confident and lit up and enthusiastic. And I said, with these bright eyes, I said, I have to do what you do. And she sort of took a liking to my enthusiasm and sort of saw something in me, in my commitment and what I was saying. And later told me that she knew from the moment that she met me that I had that we had probably spent lifetimes together. And she took me under her wing to be an apprentice and to learn the arts of ritual and ceremony. And I was a apprentice for her program, which at the time was called Woman Spirit. And it was a 1-year program that ultimately turned into 2 years that I worked side by side. And I like to think of that time in my life as being rewired. I had grown up with a mother that was very traditional, very conservative. We lived on Long Island. She was a mother of 6 kids. And what I saw was women are mothers, and women sacrifice themselves, and women don't have a life. And so I always wanted to be like my dad, which was all these masculine qualities. And in meeting my mentor, meeting Susan, I got a whole new rewiring of what it meant to be a woman and to be connected to the cycles of the earth and the rhythms of the moon and my body and my blood and my heart. And it changed my life. But it was that night, walking into that circle, that ultimately opened the door for this path that I'm on. And I've been walking that priestess path ever since that day.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you for sharing. I love that story. Yeah. And for even just to break it down, I'm curious if how would you describe the sacred feminine in your own words? And what has that brought to your life?
Back then, I just want to sort of explain the difference because I think that feminine awakening happens in these 4 stages. And I think about the 4 stages as the remembering stage and the reconnection stage, and then the reclaiming stage, and then the return. And so back then, my relationship with the divine feminine was all about this thing that was outside of myself, the beauty of the goddess, and reclaiming that my body was, that I'm allowed to love my body and that I'm good, and all of the things that our culture tells us that we're not allowed to be. In that reclaiming phase, well, let me go back. First, we reconnect with the idea of the feminine. And the idea that, oh, wait a second, we notice that the feminine is nowhere in our religions. We notice that for the first time, it's like we come out of the matrix and we see that ultimately the feminine has been so defiled and that our message around her is actually these really poisonous, disempowering messages. And we reconnect to the rightness of the feminine. That's what happened to me back in my 20s. I was reconnecting to the ideas and the rightness and the concepts of the feminine. And then there's a way that we begin to reclaim her, where we actually begin to live our lives as her, in that we want to contribute, and we begin to dress as goddesses, and we begin to work with crystals, and we begin to maybe return to herbology, whatever that looks like in our life. We begin to cultivate this wonderful relationship with Gaia, and suddenly it's like our lives become an expression more of the feminine. And then there's something that happens, and this phase is what describes my relationship and how I would describe the feminine right now. It's the return, where the concepts of the feminine, you realize that they're still, even though you are practicing in the divine feminine, they're still outside of you. And you begin to notice that to truly be the divine feminine is to be in this frequency, in this vibration of allowing all of yourself to be exactly as you are. Because the divine feminine essence, the highest expression of the divine feminine, is actually not love, believe it or not. Love is the oneness. Love is the masculine and feminine coming together. The highest expression of the divine feminine is allowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of, even in our spiritual culture, right? So much of what we perpetuate, and I did this for years, I get it. It's part of the phases. There's nothing wrong with it. It's part of the phases. We perpetuate becoming. We perpetuate the idea that we're going to work on ourselves, that we're going to be more, that we're going to do more, that we're going to get to this certain place that is the feminine. And in fact, nothing can be further from the truth. What I know, my relationship with the divine feminine now is I allow all of myself to be exactly as I am. I allow myself to be judgmental. I allow myself to be enraged at my family. I allow myself to not fully love my body, which prior to this moment in my life where I really get this, for a goddess, for a priestess to say that she doesn't love her body would have been like, oh, you know? And it's like the real feminine, the true feminine, the authentic feminine, the embodiment of the feminine. What I'm realizing now in my full authentic relationship with her is it is about allowing, because when we allow, we are in no separation with ourselves. We are in the heart. We are allowing all of us to be exactly as we are, our light, our humanness, our holiness, our mess. And it's all right there. And we're saying, here I am. I allow myself. And when we do that, the magic is that then when we allow other people to be who they are, and that's what's going to change the world.
Yes.
So my relationship with the divine feminine is less now about concept and more about truly a feeling, a frequency, the embodiment of what it means to allow myself to be who I am. And as I do that, and as I practice that for myself, I'm cultivating the ability to do that for everything around me. And then I become, that is the Divine Mother. Then we become the Divine Mother.
Oh, so beautiful. So I was just in retreat with you this weekend, and this was my big takeaway at the very end when we landed on that insight, when you held our hands and you said, like, I've done so many circles wishing and praying for all the girls to love their bodies. And actually, let's just allow them to not love their bodies. And what if they had someone in their life to remind them that it's okay and to allow that part of themselves too? And that was so amazing to have that takeaway of like, what a relief. I don't have to love everything about myself in order to be on this spiritual path.
Exactly right. And what's amazing is that as you're speaking that truth back to me, do you remember in circle, the hair was raised in my arm? It's like, yeah, my whole body is just telling me that I am in the presence of truth as you also mirror that and speak that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ultimately, what we are doing when we allow, see, so many people are so afraid. That would be such a concept to say, you allow yourself not to like your body, as if we're surrendering to not liking our bodies, or we're saying that we're never going to love our bodies. But in fact, that is the gateway to loving your body.
Mm-hmm.
Because it softens all the resistance that you have to your body. It softens every bit of resistance. And once the resistance is softened, now you can be with this beautiful body. And the irony is, your body's going to want to change when it feels loved. When it's being told what to do, when it's being told to be different because you hate it, we can willpower our way, right? That's the masculine energy. We can force our way into these different body shapes and sizes. But the irony and the phenomenon, what ends up happening, people get to a certain place, the moment that they stop that focus, that intense diet or that intense working out, the body rubber bands back. And what we see is ultimately we see the separation. We see that willpowering and that masculine energy, that patriarchal energy that we're forcing our body to do something that it doesn't necessarily want to do. That transformation doesn't stay. So true transformation is allowing yourself to not like all parts of your body. And I'm just using the body as a metaphor, but I'm sure you know, and your listeners probably know, I'll just point it out. This is the key, the golden ticket and the golden key for everything, for true transformation, for everything. We have to first come into resonance with what it is, hold it in that space of allowing. That activates the love, that activates the heart energy. And that's ultimately what transmutes everything.
Yeah.
That old saying, love heals everything, like that is the truth. That is the truth.
Yes. And this makes me think about manifesting and how so many of us have been in the kind of the more masculine side of, these are my goals, this is what I'm working towards, this is what I'm stepping into. And then the other side of that, of like, wow, what would it look like to fully allow and accept everything in my life as it is right now? Just one of the hardest things to do, I think. But could you speak about that manifestation and also this idea of the feminine and allowing?
Absolutely. The first step to manifestation, the first step, the essential step, the step that everybody is missing, is that permission. Is to get into a place, and your body will actually be able to feel it. Before you do anything of visioning, of writing your list, of practicing your manifestations, of doing affirmations, anything, you want to cultivate this place of giving yourself permission for your life to be exactly as it is. I give myself permission to have that debt. I give myself permission to not be in a relationship, to want a relationship so badly, and to feel all the self-judgments that I have around wanting a relationship. I give myself permission to want to be that big business person. I give myself permission to not be that right now and feel like a loser. I give myself permission. It's the same concept of allowing, but it's active. It gives you something to say. It's a mantra to practice. And when you say these things and you speak them, your body, you're going to feel your body. What ends up happening is that your body will take a nice deep breath oftentimes. And you'll feel this subtle shift where you are relaxed. The moment that happens, you know that you are now in alignment. You are connected to your source energy. When you are at war with your life, you are not connected to your source energy. And your source energy is the energy that creates. That's the creatrix in you. So many people are trying to manifest, but it's like, here's your source energy and you're trying to manifest over here. Allowing and permission puts you back into the flow of your source energy. That's where you want to get first. Now you're connected up to the source energy. And shall I just give you a formula that I know works?
Yes, please.
So first and foremost, allow permission. I don't even consider that step number one. That's just like, that's a whole nother piece. That gets you in touch with your source energy. Then the first step is ground yourself. Ground yourself in the technology of this body that is ultimately where all the manifestation takes place. This body, this heart is the motherboard of everything. And it is through our feeling nature, through the encoding of our DNA, that we are actually creating what happens. And it's in the now that we create. So we've got to get ourselves into our body. That's first and foremost. So ground yourself. And I like to send my taproot down to Mama Earth. And particularly when I'm manifesting abundance, which everything that we want to manifest is some form of abundance, right? I send my taproot down to Mama Earth and I see my taproot curl around beautiful bars of gold or rubies or diamonds, some sort of earth element that feels so rich and high vibrational and abundant in and of itself. So I'm connected to the earth's abundance. So that's step number one. Step number two is then we breathe up her essence. We breathe up her energy into our bodies to activate our body. So it's the activation step. So we breathe that earth energy up, that creation energy up, right? And I breathe it up into my heart. And then I just imagine that in all directions it goes out and it clears all my doubt. It clears my negativity. It clears all my human minds that just trying to figure it out, all that static energy around me. I use that earth energy to imagine that it goes away. Okay. Then step number three, I take myself up to the theta state. Now I'm a theta healer, but you don't need to be a theta healer to take yourself up to the theta state. It's actually very simple. You just imagine that you're moving through space up through the moon, up through the stars, going all the way up, 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 up through the velvety blackness. And then there's a moment where you shift from the velvety blackness into the white light. And you're imagining that as you shift from that velvety blackness into the white light, you are now fully connected to the source of all, to the divine. Believe it or not, just that simple visualization gets your brain into a theta wave state. And it's the theta wave state, those brain waves, that ultimately connect us up to source energy. Anybody wants to know more about that? They can get the book about theta healing. It's a good resource to have. Once you're connected to theta, now you're totally connected to source. It's the God, goddess in you that is doing the creating. The secret to all creation is childlike joy.
Mm.
The God, goddess in you, she doesn't need anything. Need comes from our human perspective. So when we're thinking about something that we need that relationship in order to feel whole. We need that money in order to pay our rent. You know that's not the energy of source. Just allow it. Go, okay, I allow that need to be there. Get back into source. Childlike joy, thinking about the things that you want to come to you from that place of that high vibrational, open, childlike joy. And one of the ways to get there is to expand the visualization. So you're not only thinking about the thing that you want, but then thinking about if it was even bigger than that, and even bigger than that. And what will change in the world if I get that? And who will I affect if I get that? And you're going to this place where it's like, even though it's not necessarily what you want, right? I just want a relationship. I just want that yummy partner to come into my life. But think about how your love is going to inspire other people, and about how your love is going to change the world, and about all the wonderful things that you and he might be up to together that are going to inspire other people. You understand what I mean? You're getting into that place of childlike joy, okay? And then the final step is once you're there, you visualize it, you play around with that for a little while. They say it only takes 17 seconds for the universe, for the God mind to truly like imprint what you want, okay? But it's delicious to stay in that field for a little while. It feels good. And then when you're done, I usually do it for like 3 to 5 minutes, that's all. Any more than that feels like we're trying so hard, right?
Yeah.
Bring everything down. You imagine that beautiful thing that is your manifestation. I like to put it in a nice round sun or a disc or a frame, and you bring it back down into your body. This is an important part. You bring it back down into your body, and you see it in your body. You see it. You see the DNA take it. You see the cells hold it. You see everything in your body receive the manifestation, and you feel the gratitude of what it feels like to have it. So it's not only feeling gratitude like in your head, but it's actually, it's bringing the thing in your body and letting that thing be encoded in your system, and then feeling the gratitude for it. And that's the process.
Wow, thank you. I'm so going to practice this after our call. That's amazing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I forgot to say is when you're up there in theta, you can make commands. And to not be afraid of that, because this is the source in you. This is the creatrix in you. She's allowed to command. She's not commanding God. She's not commanding God. As oftentimes people say, I don't want to make the command because it sounds like I'm being too pushy. But the thing is that if you're feeling that way, then you're separate. You're thinking about that you've got to command this thing that's outside of you, and you don't want to be too pushy. To make the command is to command. The God in you is commanding the energy that of what it wants. It's taking, it's like clay, taking the energy and putting it. So to actually use the language of, I command that I have a relationship. I may not know how. All I know is that I do, and I am fulfilled. I command that I pay off my debt. I don't know how, but I know that I do, and I am fulfilled.
Thank you.
Another thing that you can play with when you're up in that theta state is that command.
Yeah, I love that. So can you tell us all about the priestess and the archetype of this role, and also just what you see happening with women in the collective consciousness?
about this. Yes. I think we can all agree, and probably women that are called to listen to your podcast and are in your orbit can feel this in their own life. But the planet is changing. We are moving into a new paradigm. And I call it the feminine paradigm. Other people call it the great shift, the big change, whatever we want to call it. It is that we are moving into a higher level of consciousness. And what's happening is this higher level of consciousness is the return of the feminine consciousness, is the return of that which has been so separate for so many generations. As that consciousness is rising, what's happening in women is that we are reconnecting to that consciousness. So archetypes like the priestess, oversouls like Mary Magdalene, archetypes like the wild women, they are going to start to feel very resonant for women. Priestess happens to feel incredibly resonant for me. It doesn't feel resonant for everybody, but it's an archetypal energy. There's lots of different archetypes that women can claim that are the evidence that the consciousness of the divine feminine is awakening within them. The priestess archetype in particular, what I love about the priestess archetype is this. To me, the priestess is the conduit. The priestess is that clear vessel through which the divine gets to work through. To me, to be a priestess is to be the embodiment, to learn how to cultivate the divine feminine within you, just like we talked about before. Now, I understand is all about that allowing process, but however you cultivate the divine feminine in you, wherever you are on your evolutionary path is fine. It's that feeling of being the divine feminine. So much of what we have been conditioned to believe in our culture is that we have to do something. We have to produce, we have to accomplish, we have to create, we have to get at a certain level in order to prove our worth. The message of the priestess and the divine feminine is, first, it's about being that thing, that God, that love, that inspiration, that joy. Being it first. And then from that place of being, when that's attuned and activated inside of you, and it's authentic, now everything that you want to do, whether it be to start that business or write that book or create a movement or do a TED Talk, whatever it is, it's born out of the beingness. The masculine, the doingness, serves the feminine. The being comes first. So the priestess archetype is the mastery of learning and cultivating that sense of beingness first and foremost. That's how I think about the priestess. Other people may think about the priestess in different ways, and that's all okay. But I think about her as being masterful at being first and foremost. And when she is that, then she begins to teach other people that. And she doesn't even really need to teach because people can feel it from her. It's like she transmits this wisdom because she's being it. That's the priestess. Now, the other thing that the priestess it cultivates within herself is the mystery. Okay? Masculine energy is the solar energy. Feminine energy is the lunar energy. Another way to say it is like the masculine energy is more of that light, is more of that action energy, whereas the feminine energy is more of that dark, it's more of that receptive energy. It's the womb, right? So much of what we feel comfortable in is the masculine energy. We like to know. We like to see. We like to understand. We like to have the path clear. We like to be able to see the path and then take the action, right? That's where most people are constantly vying to try to get, is that clarity. The priestess holds space for learning how, and believe you me, it is not easy, and I have not mastered it myself. It's learning how to be so within yourself in the mystery of not knowing, not having any idea how it's all going to turn out, but just being able to hold and be okay in the mystery, in the dark, in the not knowing, in the womb, and allowing ourselves to fundamentally feel our way through life as opposed to think our way, see our way, decide our way through life, but to feel our way. That's what ultimately keeps us in alignment with our bliss. That's what ultimately keeps us in alignment with our authenticity. But it takes a lot of reconditioning to learn how to cultivate being able to hold yourself in the mystery. So many women are so uncomfortable there. And the priestess archetype, she is the embodiment. When we awaken that archetype within us, we are learning, we are cultivating that essence of how to be and how to be in the mystery.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I can say I struggle with that. Just the wanting to know and the wanting things to be known and not wanting to be in the mystery. And I want to have a plan and know what's coming. Do you have any tips for just like coming into that reconnection and again, just like slowing down and allowing?
Yes, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. Literally, it is the answer to everything. It's to allow yourself to feel uncomfortable in the not knowing, and even to allow yourself to want to know.
Yeah.
Because here's the danger of these kind of conversations, right? Is that people hear what a priestess is and go, "Oh, I want that," or I need to be that. I need to be more of that. I need to learn how to be more in the mystery. Right? So then it's like there's a goal to achieve, and it's like there's not though, right? We can allow ourselves to totally need to know, and even that, Meredith, even that is being in the mystery because we're in the present moment. We're allowing all of that.
Yeah.
So again, and not to sound like a broken record, but it really is. It is the answer to everything.
Yeah, so incredible. And I'll share that I have been, since you've brought this practice to our group of allowing, especially with like allowing ourselves, but also other people. And I've been really practicing that with my partner. And it's been really beautiful. Just like, I notice my resistances soften and the places where I get tense and like, oh, it's doing something that I don't know what's happening next. But just like, just allowing that.
So what does that sound like for you? Like when you're in the practice and you're doing that with Michael, like what does that sound like for you? Maybe you can model that.
It's literally just like I allow you to be who you are. And like something will come up and I'll be like, oh, like I allow you to do that, or I allow you to say that, or to be that way, or to have a messy room, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and here's the thing that's so important that I want to point out. Right, so I allow you to have the messy room, right? Meredith might not like the messy room.
Yeah.
And just because you're practicing allowing, it doesn't mean that you're surrendering to the messy room and you're just being this wonderful, compassionate priestess who's now going to allow the messy room, right? No, I allow the messy room and I allow myself to hate the messy room.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it's not that we discount. It's not that we try to be in this allowing practice to be so spiritual that we use the allowing practice to then discount our human feelings. That when you allow those feelings to be exactly as they are, then it's like you have access to the feelings. You're not pushing the feelings down. You're not trying to make them different. You're not trying to yoga them away or journal them out or juice fast them into dissolving. You're just being with them because you're allowing them. And the only way out is through. It's to feel our feelings that ultimately gets us to the other side of them. And we can feel this, people are going to practice this and they're going to go, oh yeah, this works. But here's the thing. It also works with anything because everything is energy. So when you get into that place where I allow my debt, let's just use that example. And you're really just taking that debt and you're like, okay, I allow it to be exactly as it is. I allow all my feelings around it. I allow all my shame. I allow it to mean that I am irresponsible. Anything you make your debt mean. I allow it to mean that I'm, that my life is, that I'm in scarcity. You're actually transmuting your debt and on an energetic level. In the same way that you're transmuting your feelings, you're transmuting anything that you bring into this high level space of allowing. It is the highest frequency of the divine feminine. It is a transmutational vortex. When you become that, when you activate that, anything and everything can transmute in this energy field and in this vortex.
Wow, thank you. This is such a powerful piece of wisdom that's so simple and so applicable to everything right now. And I want to ask you, earlier you mentioned, and we both have a connection to her, Mary Magdalene. And can you share a little about what you know of her and your personal connection to her and how she's been helping you in your life?
Yeah. I did have a Mary Magdalene experience, and I hesitate to even talk about it because one of the things that I have noticed a little bit in the arena, I'll call it, of the feminine awakening, particularly as it applies to Mary Magdalene, is there's a lot of spiritual ego around it. In my experience, Mary Magdalene, I think of her less as an actual sort of person and even ascended master, right? Although she is an ascended master and I have an incredible connection to her. The way that I feel her, let me talk about that first. The way that I feel Mary Magdalene is very different than somebody like Kuan Yin or Mother Mary. I feel Mary Magdalene as very human. It's actually the Mary Magdalene consciousness, I believe, that has helped me to get to this place where I can hold this piece of allowing. Because when I tune into Mary Magdalene, I tune into this fierce love that went through so much of her own pain and devastation and hardship and loss. I'm getting chills. And that her pathway to embody the divine feminine was through allowing, to allow herself to be so human that that's what brought her to the experience of being the embodiment of the divine feminine. And I think of all of our goddesses and ascended masters and oversouls that are awakening in the consciousness, she, to me anyway, stands at the forefront of this wisdom as somebody who is really embodies that. Mary Magdalene to me represents the lower chakras, right? I think of the Marys as a dyad. So Mother Mary, I think of her from the heart upwards, and then Mary Magdalene is the heart down. And Mary Magdalene is all of that. It's the reminder that, the masculine paradigm is more, the old paradigm, I should say, was more about going up, transcending out of our bodies, finding the divine and source energy by meditating, by going out. And that was a lot of the Eastern philosophy, a lot of the guru consciousness, a lot of the yoga. And it was wonderful and it worked and it got us to here. And now I feel Mary Magdalene beckoning us back. So it was the outward and now it's the inward. Come back into the body. Find God, find Goddess, find Christ in the body. In your sensuality, in your sexuality, in all of the feeling that you feel, in your rage, in your grief, in your falling apart, in the body, connected to the earth. So that's another piece where I find her to me anyway, that I find her to embody, to be the embodiment of that wisdom. The other piece I'll say about Mary Magdalene is I think of her not only as an ascended master to connect with, but as an actual oversoul. I'd heard that, I don't remember where I heard it, but I'd heard that there was a prophecy, maybe it was back in the time of the Cathars, that Magdalene would return, but she would not return as one, she would return as many. And when I heard that, it was another moment where it was like something in me remembered, just like I had that experience in the circle. Something in me remembered. And what I saw in my inner eye and in my inner knowing was, we are all, it's not about, did we have past lives with Mary Magdalene? Because I know a lot of people want to know, did they walk with her? Did they know her? Blah, blah, blah. To me, like that, none of that matters. What matters is Magdalene is a consciousness. Her oversoul is awakening in women. It's like the priestess archetype. That archetype, that Magdalene archetype, is an archetype to claim. It's a vibration that some of us wanted and meant to bring here. And so we are awakening Magdalenes. That's how I see it. And the awakening Magdalenes, in my opinion, it's not about whether or not you walked with Mary Magdalene or you had any kind of a history with her. It's about, is that oversoul, is that frequency resonant for you? And are you meant to be a holder, a vessel of that Magdalene frequency as we all return to this divine feminine consciousness, as we make the shift, as we midwife this shift into the new paradigm? So to me, I consider myself a Magdalene, and I consider myself somebody that is cultivating, not quite embodies it yet, but is cultivating that frequency more and more and awakening it in my cellular blueprint so that I can be the embodiment, like Mary Magdalene, of the feminine Christ, of the Magdalene energy. And that is one of many of the archetypes, I believe, that I hold. And I think that's what makes us all it's so beautiful. It's like, we've all heard that we're all one, but we're all different, right? Just like snow is all snow, but the snowflakes are all different. I think that it's our frequencies, the different combination of the different frequencies that we are meant to embody, that are the essence of us, that makes us that special thumbprint or that special snowflake. And the Magdalene frequency is one of, infinite numbers of frequencies that some of us hold, along with the mixture of all the different frequencies that we hold to make us us. As I awaken my Magdalene frequency, I know that I'm meant to hold space to help others remember, reclaim, reconnect with, and return to their own Magdalene frequency as well.
Yeah. And there is just such an awakening of like women who do feel the connections at this time starting to seek it out and be curious and wonder and learn more.
Yes.
And you are doing a pilgrimage soon, right? To visit some of the sacred sites.
It's one of those things, and maybe you've experienced it with things in your life where you don't even know why, but you just know that you have to. And all the time commitment and the money commitment and the logistics, it's like all of that could get in your way because it's a lot, right? But something deep inside of you just knows that you just have to do this. Yeah. I have to do this program. I have to do this retreat. I have to work with this teacher. Like I have to get to that land for whatever reason. And I am allowing myself to, I'm in that process right now of I allow myself to want to have mystical experiences, and I allow it to be whatever it's going to be. Right? I might go spend all this money, be away from my family, topsy-turvy my life for almost 3 weeks. And it might not be that. And that's okay. But I know that I need to be there for some reason that will reveal itself in time.
Beautiful. Yeah, just listening to the call of the heart.
Listening to the call of the heart. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that just back to that Magdalene energy, and really just all of the goddess energy, but Magdalene is definitely an energy that leads us there, or a master that leads us there, is that I think that that's exactly where we're all going. This whole movement, this whole paradigm shift, I think it's a reconfiguration of our head to our heart, and then from our heart, everything balances. We are such a culture that lives in our head right now. Everything is designed to keep us in our head. We're like walking heads that we're not even connected to our bodies anymore. And the Magdalene consciousness, it brings us the goddess consciousness. It asks us to recalibrate our center from the head into the heart. And when we can lead from the heart, like I'd shared in my bio, I want to work with women. My desire is to help women with that recalibration, to come back to their hearts so that they can lead from that place in the heart.
Yes. And restore the balance in our greater collective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have had the honor of participating this year in Priestess Rising, this beautiful program that you've created. And I wonder if you want to just speak to that and what else is coming up in your business and how people can learn more, all of that.
Yeah. The Priestess Rising program is a 13-moon journey through 13 sacred initiation gateways. And it is a mystery school curriculum. It's a mystery school vibration for women that truly want to return to that place, that maybe feel, again, they know that the mystery school is calling them. And we do it in person, which is, I have the honor of having you be part of the sisterhood in person here in Northern California. And then I also really got the message from the Divine Mother to hold this space on a larger platform. And we're going to be doing a Priestess Rising Initiation Program as a virtual offering in January. So it will be partial online. You can take it from anywhere in the world. And then we meet on retreat to come together as a culmination at the end of the program. But a lot of the program is in the energetic mystery school. So we come together and we do this work, and we meet in the ethers. We meet in non-physical space. And believe it or not, there's so much intimacy, so much wonder, so much transformation and transmutation that can happen, because ultimately this really it's all energy work. So
yeah,
that's what I do. And it's an honor to be living my Dharma.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, I was just saying this to Feather, one of our sisters, the other day. I love witnessing women in their Dharma. It's like one of the most beautiful things to participate in and to see. And,
I'm going to say something about that, because this is so important. So many women want that, and they're striving for that. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is they're in their heads trying to figure out what their Dharma is. Mm-hmm. This is the most important piece. This is the space I hold in the Priestess Rising program. It's a space that perhaps you can tune into with other people, but it is the essential piece. If you want that, the most important thing is get out of your head around it. There's no figuring out your Dharma. Your Dharma, we need to get back into our hearts. And then it is revealed to you. Dharma is something that is revealed, not something that is figured out. And the more that you spend time in energetic frequencies, like something like the Priestess Rising program, or your Sovereign Circle program, or other programs where women are holding space for you to connect with that divine goddess, that source energy inside of you, it will reveal itself to you. It will reveal itself to you, because it's like, if any of the women who are listening ever gave birth, you can't figure out how to give birth. You can't force birth to happen. That energy will come upon you when you are ready, and it will move through you, and you will bring this beautiful thing into the world. It's the exact same thing with your contribution, your mission, your Dharma, your work, your sacred work. You have to align yourself with the energy, get yourself ready, prepare the vessel, and then without a doubt, it shall come. It will move through you. You will not be able to stop it. It will be bliss and joy, and you shall birth it into the world. Stop leaking your life force energy trying to figure it out. I hope that women who are in that place, it's such a painful place to be. I was in it. I spent years in it. It's my greatest message for people because we leak so much life force energy that way. So much pain, and it doesn't have to be that way. So that's the honor of the space that I hold, and I know other women are holding it too, is to get women into that receptive space so they can prepare that vessel and receive that dharma, that mission, that contribution, and then birth it out into the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is so powerful and needed. I've been in that place too. And yeah, we really need to come back into our center and to know that it's coming and to trust. Yeah. And follow the joy too. That back to the childlike joy being such a place that leads us. So, Marin, do you have any closing words for us today? And I will include all the links and things about where people can find you, priestessrising.com and all of that. Do you have any other closing words for us? Anything else you'd like to share before I lead us in a short prayer to end our time together?
I would just like to, first of all, thank you. And truly just be present to my gratitude for you, the work you're doing, for having me. Thank you. And I would just want to say that whatever it is that we think of that is the priestess, the goddess, the light worker, the way shower, to identify what that is, that vision. Right? Some people think it's like having beautiful pictures and getting to a place where we have this many followers or we're doing this or we're on this program or whatever. I just note that for yourself. Allow it. And then give yourself permission to know that the priestess, you already are that. And that it is just a matter of you allowing all of that stuff that you think is in the way of that beautiful divine you. The path to be that divine you is actually to look around at all the shadow pieces and all the pieces that you don't like and to bring them home to your heart. That's the wisdom.
Thank you. Yeah, let's bring that into our hearts for a moment. Close our eyes and just feel welcoming in all the parts of ourselves, all the parts that we've maybe pushed away, but bringing them back into this moment, into our hearts. Allowing ourselves to be who we are and how we are in this moment. Allowing everyone around us to be who they are and how they are. Bringing that deep wisdom and anything else that just resonated with you today through this conversation. To feel that and to send that throughout the body. And I'll bring my hands to my heart. And this bow is such gratitude for Marin's wisdom, taking the time to share with us, to support us on our paths of ascension and growth. Thank you to everyone listening, taking the time to be here and to dive deep into your own growth and transformation. Blessings to just all the ears that this may reach in the present and the future. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. Blessings to you and all the beautiful women who listen to this.
Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to our show today. We would love to hear what you think. Take a moment to hop on over to iTunes and leave us a review. We'd be so grateful to receive it. Until next time, namaste.